Hello grade 10 students. Welcome to another virtual class. I am Miss Madhu Badke. We are studying chapter 14 Statistics. In last video class we studied two methods of finding mean of a grouped data. One is the direct method and the second is called the assumed mean method. And we solved two questions of exercise 14.1. In today's video lesson, we will apply the same methods to find mean for grouped data that has non-continuous class intervals and that has unequal class size. Let's solve question number 5 of the same exercise 14.1. In a retail market, fruit vendors were selling mangoes kept in packing boxes. These boxes contained varying number of mangoes. The following was the distribution of mangoes according to the number of boxes. So the first row here gives the class intervals of this data, which is number of mangoes in the boxes. The number of boxes are the frequencies. Find the mean number of mangoes kept in a packing box. Which method of finding the mean did you choose? Observe that the class intervals in this question are non-continuous, as the lower limit of the second class interval is not the same number as the upper limit of the first class interval. We can make these class intervals continuous by subtracting 0.5 from the lower limit and adding 0.5 to the upper limit. So this class interval will become 49.5 to 52.5. Similarly, the next class interval will be 52.5 to 55.4. And likewise, you can convert all of these class intervals into continuous class intervals. However, what we need from these class intervals is the class mark. If you calculate the class mark for 50 to 52, your answer will be 51. And if you calculate for 49.5 to 52.5, still the class mark will be 51. You can calculate and check. So this implies that non-continuous class intervals will not affect the method of finding mean or the solution. Now we have to decide which method to choose. If you look at the class intervals, the class marks are going to be 2-digit numbers. And the frequencies are 2-digit and 3-digit numbers, so they are large numbers. We cannot do anything about the frequencies. So what we are going to do is reduce the size of class mark by choosing assumed mean method, and that's how we can make the calculations little easier. For assumed mean method, we will need 5 columns. In the first column, we will write class intervals. In the second column, we will write the frequencies, that is the number of boxes. In the third column, we will write class marks, that is xi. So the class mark for the first class interval 50 to 52 is 51. For the second class interval, the class mark will be 54. Notice that the difference between any two consecutive class marks is 3, which should be equal to the class size. Now, if you calculate the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit, you will find that you get 2 over here. The reason is that these class intervals are not continuous, and that's why 2 will not be the class size. The class size of this class interval will be obtained only after you write these class intervals in continuous format. For example, the first class interval will be written as 49.5 to 52.5, and now when you subtract these two limits, the class size is 3, which is the correct class size according to the class marks that you have obtained here. To use the assumed mean method, we'll have to choose one value from the xi values as a. So let a be equal to 57, which is the centermost value out of all these. Now for each xi, we have to find di, which is given by xi minus a. So 51 minus 57 will be minus 6. 54 minus 57 will be minus 3. So the next 57 minus 57 will be 0. 60 minus 57 is 3, and the next one will be 6. So now we have reduced the xi values from 2-digit number to 1-digit number. Now we can find the product fi into di. So 15 into minus 6 will be minus 90. 110 into minus 3 will be minus 330. 135 into 0 is 0. 115 into 3 is 345, and 25 into 6 is 150. On adding the numbers with negative sign, we get minus 420, and on adding the numbers with positive sign, we get 495. So summation fi di is equal to minus 420 plus 495, which is equal to 75. And summation fi will be sum of all these numbers, which is equal to 400. So now we have summation fi di equal to 75, summation fi is 400, and the assumed mean a is 57. So the mean of this data x bar is equal to a plus summation fi di divided by summation fi. Substituting these values, 57 plus 75 divided by 400, that is 57 plus 3 upon 16. Now 3 divided by 16 is 0.187. So the mean of given data is 57.19, which is average number of mangoes kept in the box. Question number 8. A class teacher has following absentee record of 40 students of a class for the whole term. Find the mean number of days a student was absent. Observe that in this data, the class size is not equal. The first class interval has class size 6, whereas the second class interval has class size 4. Third has size 4. The fourth class interval has size 6. To find the mean of a given grouped data, all we need from the data is the class mark and the frequency. For each class interval, the middle value of that class interval represents the class mark. So even if the class intervals have different size, it does not affect the method of finding mean or the final answer. So this implies that we have to follow the same method which is applicable for a data with equal class sizes. Now which method do we use here? If we find the class mark, it will be 2-digit number, and the frequencies are mostly 1-digit number. So we can reduce the size of the class marks by opting for assumed mean method and make our calculations easier. So draw a table with 5 columns. So in the first column, we write down the class intervals which represent number of days. In the second column, we write down number of students which represents the frequency. And in the third column, we write down class marks. Each class mark is calculated by adding the lower limit and the upper limit and dividing the sum by 2. So the class mark for first class interval will be 3. Now remember that here the class sizes are different, and hence the difference between consecutive class marks are going to be different. Class mark of class interval 6 to 10 will be 8. The next class mark will be 12, then 17, 24, 33 and 39. So now we will choose a value of A. Let A be 17 in this data. Find the DI value for each XI value, that is XI minus A. So the first class mark, the DI value will be 3 minus 17, that is minus 14. Next value will be 8 minus 17, which is minus 9. Third value will be 12 minus 17, which is minus 5. Next will be 0. Now don't make a mistake of writing the same values with positive sign for the remaining XI values. Next DI value will be 24 minus 17, which is 7. Then 33 minus 17, that will be 16. And 39 minus 17 will be 22. Now we will find the product Fi into Di. So minus 14 into 11 is minus 154. Minus 9 into 10 is minus 90. 5 into 7 is minus 35. 4 into 0 will be 0. 4 sevens are 28. 16 into 3 is 48 and 22 into 1 is 22. Now we will add the negative numbers together and the positive numbers together. On adding negative numbers together, we get minus 279, and 28 plus 48 plus 22 is equal to 98. So summation Fi Di is equal to minus 279 plus 98, that is equal to minus 181. And the sum of all the frequencies will be 40, which is already given in the question. So now we have summation Fi Di equal to minus 181. Summation Fi is 40 and the value of A that we have assumed is 17. So mean, which is equal to x bar, is given by A plus summation Fi Di divided by summation Fi. Substituting in this formula, we get 17 plus minus 181 divided by 40, that is 17 minus 4.525. So on subtracting these two numbers, we get 12.475 as the mean number of days the student was absent. we can round off this number to 2 decimal places. So this will be 12.48. With this, we come to the end of this video lesson. Your assignment for today is exercise 14.1, question number 6, 7 and question number 9. See you in the next class. Until then, goodbye.